Is a situation where truly lives are at stake. It's our belief that this is a sick building, that this building cannot be cured, that's unsafe for people to be back in the building.
A Springfield courthouse fight heads to court Tuesday, and the state says a delay could put hundreds of workers in danger. Years of health concerns were raised even higher in September of 2021 when toxic mold forced workers out of the building, the Roderick Ireland courthouse, for 2 weeks. The mold over the years was found on walls, ceilings, even on court paperwork. Plus, there have been at least 5 employees who've been diagnosed with ALS after working decades in that building.
City leaders link those ALS cases directly to conditions inside the building. Then this year, the state finally approved a $2 billion deal to build a new facility on Liberty Street. However, a legal fight could delay or derail that $2 billion project. The state warns if a judge resets the process over the plaintiff's conflict of interest claims, hundreds of workers face immediate health risks.
Western Mass News reporter Madison Lasowski joining us live in studio this evening after getting answers on what's at stake in court next week. Madison.
Well, Chris and Amanda, the winning developers, Liberty Junction, are named in the suit along with the state. Now, Liberty Junction wasn't the only bidder here trying to win the project. Local developers Jeb Belize and Dinesh Patel were interested in the Springfield Regional Justice Center project too. And they're claiming that now former Liberty Junction investor John Barros crossed the line of conflict of interest law after becoming the interim director of the Massachusetts Convention Center Authority. Barros has said he complied with every single regulation, but stepped away from Liberty Junction to prevent, quote, critically delaying a healthy facility for Hampden County. Now, Massachusetts Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell and the state's Division of Capital Asset Management, DCAM, are both sending stark warnings to the judge that delaying this project keeps the workers in a dangerous environment here. In an opposition brief filed just last night, the state revealed just how critical the situation has become. The state says last month that the building suffered a sewage pipe leak that caused extensive damage to the walls, ceiling, and flooring on the second level, forcing an emergency waiver just to patch up the premises. Now, the state's brief argued in plain terms that the court cannot prioritize fiscal ambitions of the losing bidders above the public's need to access a safe justice center. If the judge grants an injunction in court on Tuesday, that means workers and visitors will be stuck in the hazardous facility indefinitely.
So, Madison, beyond the health impacts of the building, obviously, what does the delay mean as well for the city economically?
Well, Chris, the Liberty Junction principal, Claiborne Williams, said that the project has 2 critical goals here. First, replacing a health hazard courthouse, and second, spurring economic opportunity for the North End. So if the court throws out the award and forces the state to restart the selection process here, supporters say it doesn't just delay the new courthouse, it puts the entire Liberty Street site in limbo, which pushes promised small business investments and millions of dollars in property tax revenue years down the road. Now, Western Mass News will be in the courtroom on Tuesday when the judge hears from both sides of the $2 billion project. And we'll keep you updated with the latest both on air and online. Be sure to stick with us. For now, reporting live in studio, Madison Lasowski, Western Mass News.